Before you start this tutorial, I want to tell you and give you a little content warning. Please be aware that this is one of the most brutal conflicts in the world, and notes of these events can contain brutality you're may not used to, so just be aware of that, please. Okay, hello. To my small introduction to the Genocide Watch DRC Conflict Explorer. I just shortly, for me, I'm a visual guy, so if you're also someone like me, it maybe helps you to just understand what you're seeing if you have a video. So yeah, for me, I recommend using it in full screen. You don't have to, but it's made for it. If you're more of the person who reads, you can also go through the guide here. It will also explain it to you, but as I do that now, I hope you're okay if we skip that chapter. Start exploring. Now what are you seeing? You're seeing a lot of dots, and if you zoom out, you also see it's in the eastern part of the DRC. And these dots are an ACLED data set. ACLED collects data about armed events, armed conflict events. So each of these dots is an armed event, basically. If you, for instance, click on the small one here, you can see the military forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo against Mai militias, the Malaika Sheikh Hassan. And then you can even read about what happened. The result clashed in 4 FARDC officials' fatalities. So 4 Congolese soldiers were killed. So fatalities are 4. And now, the more people died in such an event, the bigger the dot. So for instance, here you will see in Beni, and as you see, current hotspot, you can also click that, it's the same event. So that's the event where the most people died in that month. And you can see they took back Medina, Beni from the ADF. 40 fighters from the ADF and 30 of FARDC were killed, which adds up to a total of 70 fatalities. So it doesn't tell you necessarily, maybe if you read it in the notes, but apart from that, it doesn't tell you who was killed. It just tells you there was an event with these actors and so many people died. But if you want to see more specifically, you can see there's 2 colors here. And the red ones, you can filter it if you click here, and then you also already know it's attacks on civilians. Okay, it's attacks on civilians. So now you only see the events where civilians are attacked, were targeted. It doesn't mean it's the events, it shows you only the events where civilians were killed. There might be that 2 groups clashed and then also civilians were killed. So here, for instance, here you can see the total current selection. So if I deselect this, you always have the filters here. This is the whole data set. And then you can filter it, basically. And the total current selection always shows you the total data set currently filtered. So, for instance here, if you go a bit further, you see actor focus. If you go to the latest report, you can see the latest report by Genocide Watch about the DRC, which is currently February 2025. And then you can even read about it. For me, now I already know what's in there. So let's, for instance, focus here. There are some actors listed. Let's, for instance, see for Codeco. You can find all the actors listed. Go back to full screen. You can see all the actors listed here. So Codeco, I want to see what they do. You hit play. You can go a bit faster if you want to have a broad overview. Maybe you don't like the camera acting like that. You're like, that's too nervous. You go to free view. And then you go like that, and now you see what they do. You want to see only attacks on civilians? Here. And as you also notice, it adds up here, the filters. So now you're filtering for Codeco, but also for events where civilians are targeted. But you don't have to do it. You can also be, You can see here, show all groups or most involved groups. Of course, it will show you Codeco, as it's the one part. In Codeco, that also, it's a loose. Here, for instance, you also see there's Codeco or DPC, FDBC, so there's also different ones. But Zaire, it's a self-defense Popular Front, as they call itself, at least. You want to see only the fightings they have with each other, you press here, and then you can see only these. And here, down here, as long as you have this tick on, If you have it like that, it will just go with the time. You will see each month the newest data, but if you go to show total numbers, it will show you the data set. So here you can see it's not a very big, weren't that many clashes at least reported about, since that's also, you also have to see, for instance, if you go here, February 2023, Codeco clashed with Zaire militia, source key the security tracker. So these are just the reported events also, I mean, obviously, but just also to take note of that. And now here, of course, you can see that only 1% of these events was an attack on civilians. But now I'm interested, why was there an attack on civilians when it's Codeco against Zaire militia, right? So you can see here the event is on 6th of 2023, so that will be exactly in half of the year. Of course, I did not hit it. So May, go forward, June. Here we have it. Codeco and Zaire killed at least 6 people in 5 villages. Exact location not specified. So not amazing. I don't know how they are congruent. I don't know if they killed them together or if they fought with each other and then civilians were killed. I don't know about that. But yeah, that's how you can filter this stuff and then clear it. And now you're back in the total. So yeah, maybe you're also interested only in a specific region. Maybe you just want to see Ituri, which is the region now. You can also always go to auto view and it will automatically show you the events here. And now if you're in Ituri, for instance, you can see here these most involved groups and also the major events, they always filter also by these filters you have here. So for instance, now you see the biggest actor. Now we're in total numbers. So overall this time, the biggest actor was civilians, or the group mostly involved in armed events in the Ituri region were civilians and the military forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And then after that, the ADF. And then Codeco. So you can also just click here and then you see all the events the FARDC had in Ituri. Again, it filters it. So you can stack up filters. You want to see how they fought against ADF, you click on this. And there might be some fights also they had in North Kivu, but of course you don't see them, as now you're filtering it by Ituri. We can even see, yes, they had many fights in North Kivu also. So yeah, that's that. That's the amazing thing which this dashboard can bring you. But now, maybe you're asking yourself, what could you be asking yourself? Refugees. But then, it's not like you want to scroll through it. You want to Google for refugees, so you go in here, you go for refugees. And here you have the data for refugees. Now you see armed events where refugees were involved. Here you can see there was a month where it was 40 fatalities in November 2021. So let's go here. November 2021, and you can go up here and you see, of course, sadly it's Ituri. Codeco attacked a refugee site in Nzala, Bahema North. 20 people were killed. So yeah, and now that's something else. You can clear it here. That's something else we can also look at shortly, and then I think you're quite, you know what this can do. Something really nice here about the total current selection is you can also see how many of the events. So attacks on civilian doesn't mean that's the amount of civilians attacked. It means that's the amount of events where civilians were targeted. So from 25,000 events, 10,000 of it were attacks on civilians. And then, of course, you can also always check this number, how many of the events. So the average is 40% of all events in the all armed events in the DRC was violence against civilians, which is an enormous number, which surprised me. So if you go now to M23, you will see 12% of all of their attacks were against civilians. of course, you can scroll to town. You can again here show total number. You can see here January 2025. I have an idea what happened then. That was a special month. Okay, of course I don't hit it. So January 2025. That was the battle for Goma. Now you can see here how they were attacking civilians. But then, also don't be fooled. Of course, that does not mean that all these events here are only events where soldiers were killed. If you click on here, you can see clashed against FRDC Vazilendo with heavy weapons, numbers were injured, killed as a result. Fatalities split across, they split it across different locations, but they don't actually say how many of these were civilians. But a movement of a displacement, it can be that even in these events, civilians were targeted. So I'm just saying, be aware of that. But what you will also see, for instance, FDLR, 26%, but not that many events. ADF then is crazy. ADF, 60% of all of their operations were targeting civilians. Here you have Codeco, 51% of all of their these events are targeting civilians. Now, okay, here's a bit of a mess. Whatever. I think you're getting the point here. But as I said, for instance, if you go to M23 and you see this number, 12% only, then they must be nice. That doesn't mean that they don't kill civilians. It just means maybe, let's see here, clash with Vazalendo, between 10 to 11 civilians were killed. So, it is a battle. They did not target civilians there, but civilians died when they fought against each other. Maybe also some Vazalendo were killed, maybe some M23 fighters were killed, but maybe they dragged them back to the camp or whatever. Just also be aware of that. And yeah, and then I think you're ready to explore a region. I hope you can... Yeah, I hope it makes you understand this conflict more. If you have any questions or like things I should add or whatever, let me know at maps@genocidewatch.org. Here you have a guide if you're more of the guy who reads through it. If you want to read also the latest report, you'll find it here. Maybe it's updated when you use it. And that's that. Thank you so much for showing interest in this dashboard and in this video. And good exploring. And yeah,